Game time, Brian. Hey, Mark, is that the guy coming on? Hey, Mark, you can bring DFW and the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and it won't matter. You haven't done dick in 30 years. The Pet Rock and the Chia Pet were more famous than Dallas in the last 25 years. Who are you kidding? The Chia Pet is more famous than the Cowboys in the last 30 years. The Chia Pet.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. Rise and grind on this Taco Tuesday. It's a Taco Tuesday. Yeah, sorry about no lunchtime chat when I got home last night. The house was very, very, very hot. I had to go downstairs, change the filter, shut it off for a while. It's a fairly new system. It's not like it's an old system. I wanted to go with a multi-zone system, so I got an upstairs that always gets hot. But we did not. This was supposed to be a better option. And when it gets to 100 degrees, 103, it was 103 here. You know, I could tell the filter. I had been wanting to change the filter. I just forgot about it. So I turned it off for a couple hours. The house got to close to 90. And then now it's down to 78. So I have it set at 74, which is still not as cool as I would like it. But 72 seems to be the bugaboo number. Don't leave it on 72. But it's on 74. We're getting close to... It ain't going to shut off today, though. It's going back up to 100. And then I think 98, then it drops down. But rise and grind, everybody. Hope everybody's doing good. Again, we sit here, what do we sit here, 27 days away? 27 days away from training camp. I would tell you what I've been telling you. You're cautiously optimistic. A lot of the legwork has been done. But I see my man from the Buffalo Bills. Again, he knows the narrative. You know, we're hearing things from Dak Prescott. Well, let me stick to Josh Allen. He knows the narrative, right? He knows. He's coming off an MVP, right? He's like, yeah, it's not about stats. It's not about MVPs. And it's about winning. This is what I've always stated. You know, and you're starting to hear Dak Prescott talk about You're starting to hear Dak talk about legacy, not being uneasy about having only 2 playoff wins. Seeing the road behind you is longer than the road ahead here, you know? Kind of like me. So, you want to maximize your days, you know what I mean? Make sure you're doing things right. Surround yourself by people who are also doing things right. You know, I've been very critical of Dak as far as putting a little bit more pressure publicly on the organization to bring in a George Pickens. Why do we wait? But then, not only that, but to sit back and say, okay, I know we like this player and this player, but go get us another player. You know, it's the old adage, if you think you're set at a position, go get yourself another one. Just like the draft. Oh, that's why you don't draft for need, you know, necessarily. I get what you do. Everybody tries to fit their need into a box and draft them. I get it. But, you know, you think you have enough wide receivers at the time with Amari Cooper and, you know, or not Amari, but you think you have enough wide receivers. And then you go out and you go get a CeeDee Lamb, right? You think you're okay, go get you one. So, but anyway, and this by no means is a slant. And I know a lot of people will say it's a slight. Listen, just because you love Jalen Hurts does not mean much. I will never criticize a man who wins a Super Bowl. Okay, I don't even feel comfortable saying, yeah, but he lost one. That's why anybody that criticizes Troy Aikman, you've lost all credibility with me. You start looking into the numbers, you don't know what you're talking about. Again, numbers are BS. It's what system you're playing in, right? You don't think Troy Aikman could have played in the Buffalo Bills system? He left the University of Oklahoma, went to UCLA, and I think it was, what was his coach at UCLA? Donahue? Put in the comments. Thomas Garrett, I know you know. It's not coming to me right now. I got no liquid gold in me. I got liquid gold waiting at the post office. She already picked it up. So no ladies and no big dick bitch this morning, even though I think he's gone. So it might, but who am I thinking? Terry Donahue? I don't know. But anyway, he won a Heisman Trophy, I believe. Aikman, number 1 pick in the draft. Did he win the Heisman? I thought he did. Sorry. But yeah, I'm pretty sure he did. But number 1 pick in the draft, regardless. Goes to Dallas, right? And then they put together a ragtag bunch of offensive linemen and draft Emmitt Smith. And they had Michael Irvin and Jay Novacek. That's what, you go to. I will never be critical of Jalen Hurts. Never, 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 never. He won a Super Bowl. He's got there. He's played well twice at a Super Bowl. Do I think he was the MVP this last year? No, but we know how it works. We're getting caught up in the minutia. Now, I put money on the fact that he would get the MVP. He played good. But I mean, the defense is what won that Super Bowl, but that's not a slight on Jalen. He won the damn Super Bowl. You could do what some other people do and not show up in the Super Bowl and choke it up like a Neil O'Donnell in Super Bowl 30 against the Cowboys, throwing the ball, That's what cracks me up. We all knew Larry Brown was mid, okay? We all knew Larry Brown was a mid player, but yet Larry Brown was the MVP of Super Bowl 30, the cornerback. That's why we hear about, well, this guy had a big pick in a playoff game. He's going to be good for his whole career. Stop it. I've been there. I've done that. Larry Brown won the MVP. The ball was thrown right at him. Right at him. He caught it, ran for a touchdown. He had 2 interceptions that game. Went on to sign a big free agent deal and was a flop. Done. Out of the league in 3 years. Again, it's a team. It's a team that wins. I will never criticize a quarterback for winning a Super Bowl. But, again, like Josh Allen would rather beat Jalen Hurts than Josh Allen. Why would you say that? Josh Allen is the best quarterback in the league stat-wise. He's won an MVP. He's never won a Super Bowl. Okay? Jalen Hurts, his highest touchdowns he's thrown, I believe, is 23 touchdowns in a season. That's it. 23. That's middling. But he was clutch in the big games for the most part. And that's all you really, again, not a slant on Jalen Hurts, and I'm going to get Darius Scott. Are you low-key? Listen, he threw 23 touchdowns last year. We knew what won. Everybody knows what won the Super Bowl. But in the big game, he didn't let it slide, right? Dallas Cowboys, Troy Aikman. Everybody knew who got him there. Now, the numbers tell you he's the most accurate passer. I think it was Philly D said, well, in the Super Bowl, Jalen Hurts is the most accurate passer ever. I don't know anything about that. I mean, I take your word for it. I'm not calling you a liar, but again, you've seen the body of work with Jalen, that he is who he is. But more importantly, over any stat, he's a winner. Josh Allen, what is he? We far too often, when the noise gets loud and the game is at its pinnacle, it's crunch time, it's now or never, you need to make a play, Josh Allen will throw an interception. Okay? when they shut down the run. When all else fails, look at Jalen in the Super Bowl. When all else fails, they shut down the run. Okay? Well, it's on you now, Jalen. And he had a really, really good game. In the most important game. He stepped up. Brad Johnson stepped up. I mean, Trent Dilfer stepped up. Now, Trent Dilfer did it. That's probably the closest guy that you could say to Jalen, only because of the number one defense. I believe, put in the comments, I believe Baltimore had a dynamic defense with Ray Lewis and company. But you knew that it wasn't Dilfer. It was more Hurts this year than it was Dilfer. But still, when you look at the stats throughout the year, I'll have to look at that. Trent Dilfer that year in Baltimore, I tell you, probably had, I don't know, I'll have to look it up. But give me a Trent Dilfer. Dak Prescott knows. You know? Again, I know some of my Cowboy fans who love Dak or get uneasy when I bring up, well, you know, like when Wade brings up the two Niner games where we gave up 19 points in both games, I believe. 19 to 12, and yeah, it was ridiculous. Our defense did its job, and we could not run the ball very well. But, you know, Dak had the ball in his hands with a chance to win. And you find that more too often that, you know, it goes back to what do you do in those moments where the whole world is looking at you? Do you choke? Or do you get the job done? You know, you don't always have to get the job done, but you got to show that you're able to get the job done at least once in a big game. But sometimes you just got to put the team on your back. Sometimes you cannot mess around. Sometimes you just got to say, you know what? My team needs me to make a play. You know, whether that's running up the middle for 50 yards when you know that the defense is playing you a certain way and nothing's really working, you can't get in a rhythm, and Jalen pops one for 50, 60 yards, that's a backbreaker. There's no defense that, if you have a spy in the middle of the field to worry about a Jalen Hurts or a Josh Allen or whatever, that you're playing into the offense's hand, because now the offense knows that there's a hole in the middle of the field, outside, over the top there. And it's wide open. So you try not to have a spy. You see more and more teams not doing a spy. You know, that's the reason why I always had a lot of respect for Bill Belichick, because he would always take your best player out of the game. Always. Always, always. He would not let you beat him. But you see with that of Tom Brady, with Mr. Clutch, Bill Belichick is mortal, right? You see it. Tom Brady was clutch. It comes down to the mentality of a quarterback. And we're going to know this is it, the final stand for me for Dak Prescott. Not that this is his final year, but this is the final stand for me. The final stand. No more excuses. I want to see Dak win, right? No more excuses. This is why I want Dak to open up his mouth. If he sees in training camp the same old on defensive line, that we're struggling to stop the run. Clear! Boof! Boof! There we go. We're back. If he sees in training camp that it's the same old, then I want him to open his mouth. Rumor is that he might have a NDA, a non-disclosure agreement. I hope that's not the case. You know, I don't know. I think that might be weird. From Mint. It's something that wouldn't surprise me if Dallas had an NDA in there. That wouldn't surprise me. But I hope not. You saw Dak a little bit. Dak hasn't said anything publicly. I mean, I know that's not what he wants to do. Say it in training camp, Dak. Say, listen, man, why we don't have our best defensive player signed to a long-term deal already yet again. It's just shows that this organization is not learning from their history. We haven't won this team hasn't been very successful in the playoffs. They haven't won a Super Bowl in 29 years, going on 30 years. 1995. It was actually 96 when we actually held up the trophy. So we're going on 30 years. So, or was it 94 and 95? I don't know. I forget. I get confused. I think it was 96. Yeah, I don't know. Put in the comments, Thomas Garrett. I know it's 92, 93, 95, but I don't know if it was 94 season and you won it in 95 or if it was a 95 season and we won in 96. But, you know, you would think Dak would come out and say, listen, let's get it done. Listen, clearly we have a problem stopping the run. Maybe let's add an extra body, not just rely on a late round draft pick who everybody loves. Let's not rely on a 29th ranked defensive tackle in the league out of 32 teams or 31st, whatever. He's one of the worst. He's one of the worst defensive tackles in the league. I don't care what scheme you're running, what linebackers. You need better to sit there and hope that we can do it. That's clearly, right now, that's a gap. That's a flaw in the system right now. So, looking at the squirrel. What are you doing, squirrely? This little scrawny-ass squirrel. It's a little keto squirrel. Get some meat in you. Well, now, keto, you could have meat. It's a little, what do you call it? What do you call it when you don't eat meat? Vegetarian. But anyway, that's it. Kind of like I saw the Josh Allen quote. And Josh Allen basically was saying, I don't care about the stats anymore. I don't care anymore. No more. No more. So it's like, time to win, you know. I'm already on record saying Dak's going to have a really good year this year. But what does that mean? He's going to throw 35 touchdown passes and be one and done in the playoffs or not make the playoffs? Open your mouth, Dak. Let's go, baby. Let's heat it up. All right. Talk to you later. I'll try and do a lunchtime chat today. We'll see how the air is. It's going to be very hot again. We got the big live stream tomorrow. I need Chris Dooley to send me a picture. We're going to go Chris Dooley. We're going to go Bobby Babinski. We know that Eagle Drew will pop in. We will go, I got to come up with a cowboy. Maybe we'll go Loyal Cowboy, even though I may have to, Primetime Phil already said he may not make it, so I'll probably be doing it solo. I don't know. Loyal, do you want it? And you be able to handle it? And then we got Jesse. So, all right. Talk to you later. Peace.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.